What's going on, internet? IG here again today, and this is the Surface Pro 3. So Microsoft's Surface Pro 3 represents a couple of things. To a company like Microsoft, it kind of represents their flagship effort at trying to re-envision what a PC looks like. What a personal computer would look like in the 21st century nowadays. And that is the idea of a hybrid tablet laptop, or at least a tablet that can replace your laptop. How well have they pulled that off? Well, to me, the Surface Pro 3 is the replacement for an already thin and light laptop in the respectable 11-inch MacBook Air. And what was I looking for in something like this? Well, let's dig into that a little bit today. Not so much focusing on the specs and overall techiness of this product, because it's been out for a while and there are plenty of other videos that would probably do that better than me. But in terms of my personal use, what I've been using this little guy for, let's have a look at what this product does, what it is, what it isn't, and whether or not you should spend your hard-earned cash on one of these, even though it's a couple of months old now. Now, in terms of design, this little thing is very thin and light, especially comparing it to previous Surface generations, which I'm not going to talk about because old products are old and they're really irrelevant nowadays. But in terms of a laptop that runs a Core i5 processor that is capable of doing grunt work, there is really nothing else that is quite as thin and light as what the Surface Pro 3 aims to be. Even in terms of the MacBook Airs and other Ultrabooks on the market nowadays, you'll be surprised at just how light this thing is, despite the fact that it is quite a big tablet. When you look at it in terms of a tablet size, it is pretty big. When you look at it in terms of a laptop size, it's pretty portable. The 12-inch screen size is a sweet spot in my opinion, and I think that's probably what they've nailed the best this time around in terms of the Surface tablet. Because it is designed to be a replacement for your laptop, but at the same time with the same portability as a tablet, yeah, you kind of want to get that screen size right, and I feel like they've done that this time around. Now, in terms of specs, I'm not going to give you a big list of specs of what this device has. All you need to know is that, in my opinion anyway, there seems to be enough spec and price options out there to make one of these pretty accessible to anyone who's looking to get a thin and light laptop. They start from an i3, a Core i3 processor, that's the 4th gen Intel processors with 64 gig of storage and 4 gig of RAM, all the way up to a quad-core i7 processor, 512 gig of SSD and 8 gig of RAM. So there's plenty of room to move there. Probably the sweet spot would be that Core i5, 8 gig of RAM, 256 gig SSD. That would future-proof you a bit. I've got the 4 gig, 128 gig storage Core i5 processor. That's pretty suitable for what I do. Now, in terms of connectivity, this little ultra portable laptop or tablet duo is pretty well spec'd. It's got Bluetooth, the latest generation of Bluetooth, the low energy 4.0. It's also got dual band wireless. It has your USB 3.0 port on the side there. There's only one. People might see that as a gripe. For me, I've never had an issue with there being only one USB port, but that's just me. You've also got a micro SD card slot under the flap of the Surface, and you also have a mini display port for connecting to an external monitor or a TV. Now, when it comes to everyday use, I've mainly been using this for the basic stuff, for word processing, internet browsing, watching YouTube, doing emails, social networking, and casual entertainment. So the battery life quote in terms of 9 hours of web usage that Microsoft quotes you is pretty accurate, I guess, if you're just doing the light, basic everyday stuff. You throw in a bit of casual gaming there or watching full HD movies, obviously you're going to churn through the battery that little bit more, but in my opinion anyway, it hasn't affected the battery usage too much. So I can safely say that I've gotten 8.5 hours consistently out of this tablet for what I use it for, but your mileage is going to vary depending on what you're doing on this tablet, how bright you've got the screen, etc, etc. For me, it's kind of split between half in a fluoro lit office and half in like a sunlit room, like a cafe or this room, for example. Now, the way that I found myself using the Surface Pro 3 on a day-to-day basis was mainly between the touchscreen and the keyboard. I was surprised at how much I didn't need the trackpad. Now, of course, that is going to vary based on how you use this device. But I kind of found myself being the most efficient when I would just jump between the touchscreen and the keyboard. Fingers didn't have far to travel. And besides the fact which the trackpad, while it is a much improved trackpad compared to previous generations, again, I didn't have any experience with the previous generations, so I don't care. The trackpad is adequate, but it's not ideal. It's obviously pretty small, and also in terms of two-finger responses and gestures, it's not ideal either. But that's what the touchscreen's for, in my opinion. So let's talk about what this device does well. First up, portability and power. There really is, in my opinion, no other readily accessible device on the market which can give you a Core i5 quad-core processor in this kind of package. This is ridiculously thin. It's about a kilo, more or less. In my opinion, there's nothing else that you can really tuck under your arm that is going to be that powerful, up to a quad-core i7 even. The other thing it does well is firmware integration. Windows 8.1 is a bit of a stodgy mess depending on who you talk to. It has fixed a lot of issues that I originally had with Windows 8, but it definitely makes sense on a device like this, and it's actually a pleasure to use. Even the little things like resuming from sleep, how much power it uses when it is sleeping, connecting to the pen, stuff like that. They're all firmware tweaks that is great to see included with the Surface, because if Microsoft could have completely botched it up just by getting the software implementation on the Surface Pro 3 wrong. Thankfully, that's not the case, so the firmware integration is very nice indeed. Also, the keyboard is something else that Microsoft have done well in. I found myself being able to reach my full typing speed on this keyboard. There's plenty of travel there for the keys, and it conveniently snaps into place without much fuss at all. The other thing that the Surface Pro 3 does well is versatility. I can use this as a tablet, I can use it as a laptop, and somewhere as a middle ground between the two, that's where it gets a little bit awkward. But as a tablet, it's okay. It's got a great screen for watching movies and that sort of thing. But generally speaking, I do kind of find myself reaching for my iPad if I'm just wanting to read a book, or the Nexus 7 even for reading a book or watching a YouTube video. So in terms of casual use as a tablet, it's not quite the tablet, it's definitely leaning more towards the laptop. That's kind of how I see it, so that's how I use it. So where does this device fail? Well, in my opinion, there is some awkward situations that you might try and use this device in. It's not quite ideal for using it on your lap. It's definitely miles better because of that adjustable hinge. But at the end of the day, there are some awkward kind of situations where you're trying to fiddle with the Surface to get it open and adjusted to the correct angle. This is just a limitation of the form factor in my opinion, so there's not really a whole lot they could do to improve on it, but it is something to be aware of if you're going to be using this as a laptop. The other gripe that I have about it is I wish the pen were a little bit more useful. Yes, you can use it in OneNote, yes, you can mark up PDFs, but it would be great to see this pen be a bit more useful in the everyday operating system, in the UI and the user experience, because it is a fantastic little piece of technology, but by and large I don't find myself using it. Finally, the only other gripe that I have about the Surface Pro 3 is the fact that the tablet app ecosystem isn't amazing. It's getting better and better. Trust me. But in terms of how many apps are out there for my casual tablet use, not as many as I'd like. So that's why I find myself more often reaching for my Nexus 7 or my iPad if I'm just wanting to do some casual kick back on the couch type stuff. So at the end of the day, the Surface Pro 3, does it replace your laptop and does it replace your iPad? As a device that is targeted towards convergence, the idea of having one device to rule them all, it gets very close. I'm reaching for my iPad and the Nexus 7 and my laptop less and less, but there are still things that I use those specific devices for. As a middle ground, yes, it definitely solves the purpose, and if I go away on a trip, this is the one that I take. In terms of value for money, it's up there with all the other Ultrabooks and MacBook Airs that are out there, and that's good to see as well. It's definitely a very innovative product. It's kind of the best in its class of that two-in-one convertible idea. And if you're happy to put up with the limitations of this product in its two-in-one category, then it's definitely worth your money. Well, that'll be it from me. Let me know what you think about the Surface Pro 3 in the comments below. And if you like what you see here and you would like to see some more, then definitely subscribe to my channel. And there'll also be links down below where you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. So thank you all for watching. Let me know what you think, and I will catch you all in the very next video, where we will hopefully be looking at a very interesting router from Netgear. Peace out, ladies and gentlemen.